Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are watching Off the Track, and it is time to drop the hammer.
Perfect. All right, I guess we might as well just jump right into it. This is episode 40 of Off the Track.
10 away from 50.
And Bennett and I are actually both back in the studio. You could call it we're in the same location. The last couple episodes have been remote. But in today's show, we're going to be talking about a lot of things, and the main one being our exciting weekend, but also chaotic / frustrating / just everything you could say.
This is a whole lot of mix. I mean, there's highs and lows throughout the whole weekend, but at the end of the day, it was fun.
It was fun, and it was cool that we got to go back to the racetrack together, and kind of like what we did all throughout 2021. But welcome back to the podcast, Off the Track, episode 40. I'm your host, Tanner Holmes. I got Bennett Gooch in the room with me. And as I said, we are going to be discussing our weekend up in Elma, Washington. You're also watching the Cup race.
Yeah. So we actually, for everyone that doesn't know listening, we just got home about, an hour ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we left at, I think, safe to say 2:30 a.m. in the morning. We
Yeah.
drove far. We got a little before Eugene, I think. We stayed the night in Eugene for 3 or 4 hours in the morning for John to sleep. And then we just got home. But the Cup race started and we got it rolling here. I think I got a notification. Bubba Wallace wadded it up. But hopefully Kyle Larson's running third right now. And our boy Kyle Busch is running 17th. So we'll just stay updated with this as we shoot here.
Absolutely. So to kind of start our weekend off, we rained out last weekend. And this weekend, we were like, all right, we have we don't really have a whole lot of options as far as racing goes. If we went north, we have the Grays Harbor Raceway, which is what we ended up choosing. And if we went south, it was about the same distance to Merced, California for a big Sprint Car Challenge Tour show. I believe also technically Marysville was running weekly 360s.
Yeah.
And that was another option if we wanted to. But the plan for this weekend was for Carly and I both to race. So that was priority. We wanted to get Carly her first start of the season. We got her car ready, which we've been
First
spending.
360 start, too.
First 360 start. Yeah, no, we were really prioritizing to make sure that Carly, was able to get behind the wheel and, get those first laps. And I felt like Grays Harbor on a normal night, or most nights would be a really good place to take a new driver. It's a little bit fast, but it tends to be smooth.
It's really wide.
And it's really wide. So, there's no worry about a big curb, maybe hitting a wall. Like, it can happen there. If anything, what usually bites drivers is the Uke tires or the berm. That isn't there this season. They kind of have it different. But usually that would be more of a concern, which I guess I would rather choose that over a wall. But anyway, so we wanted to take her racing. And so we're like, you know what, Grays Harbor, the weather looks good. It kind of is going to rain during the week, but it sounds like they're going to get their show in. And usually their season openers up there, tend to draw a lot of cars. And it did. I think we had 23 or 24.
23 360s, 12 limiteds, and I think if I'm right, 30-something modifieds.
Oh my gosh, the mod turnout was insane.
20-some Hornets.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's funny. We'll get into it a little bit later. You would think with that amount of cars, some of these divisions finished with one car left. So we got some stories from this weekend.
The stories. So weekend starts off, so with two cars and I knew the chaos, and then now Carly's kind of trying to create some content, which I'm really excited for, and she's kind of trying to do her YouTube channel, so you guys can follow her along there. Obviously we had posted content on her before just on my channel, but she's kind of taken that leap, which I'm really proud of. And so I'm like, man, all right, I'm going to need some help. We already have two cars, so there's going to be a lot going on. So I'm like, hey, Bennett, I knew Bennett with his job works, on Fridays, which makes it tough. I was like, hey, I know it's a stretch, but drive up after work on Friday. We'll sleep a couple hours. We'll wake up at 4 o'clock, and we're going to drive to Grays Harbor and race. And Bennett was down for it.
Yeah, I think by the time I got here after work and everything, and we went to sleep, we had 3 hours of sleep. 3 hours of sleep, get up, shower, get in the toter, and then we rip up north for 7 hours, 7 hours. But it was fun. I mean, it kind of reminds me of back when we were just back-to-back racing, just a hardcore.
In season.
Even when it reminded me, because we would come here after Red Bluff some nights and leave at 1, 2 a.m. from Red Bluff. So, I tried to do the old challenge. Once you get on the freeway, don't get past. But that ended up not working out pretty quick.
Dang, that's awesome. That's classic. Bennett got here the night before. We fell asleep about midnight towards 1. Midnight to 1. My dad woke me up at 3:45, and we were up about then, like Bennett said, showered, got ready, got in the toter.
Well, so wait, I just want to mention something. This is kind of funny. This is like a little inside thing here. So the way I guess you would say the Holmes household type thing works is, so when I got here, I was told we're going to leave by 4:30 at the latest. But then it moved to like 4, and then John's banging on the door at like 3:30 to get up and we're leaving. So it's kind of funny. That's just how it rolls
He
here.
does that because he does that because he always... it's just so then we can't be late. So like if he says 4:30, whatever time he says, or he usually tries to like say earlier, so then we're late. Like even if we're late, then we're on time. Yes, there you go. So we do that. We head to the trailer and the toter, get everybody in the toter. We get on the road about 5:30, and we ended up getting there about 12. Bennett had already set up too before he came up. We had our NASCAR Inside Line schedule, so we got to run half of our point season we have set up. Where we got to run a couple of different tracks. Right now, we're currently tied 2 wins apiece. 4 races in, so we'll have to keep that updated on when we can continue that season.
I'm looking forward. We might have to make a separate trip up just to finish that.
It's been getting really good, and all clean racing so far. No rivalries or anything developing.
I think we were running through the S's side by side a couple laps of Sonoma's
pretty sweet on NASCAR Inside Line. So if you guys don't know NASCAR Inside Line, you gotta play the game. It's the greatest NASCAR game ever made on the Xbox 360. So we get there about noon, walk up to the track, and Grace Harbor, has always been a place like I said, I've enjoyed going to. We've had some fun there at speed weeks and stuff like that. So we walk up to the track. Man, it looks normal. A little bit wet. Nothing too crazy. Like I said, it has been raining there, and Northwest winters are not usually great. A lot of snow and just like I said, just really, really wet. So to start racing in April is almost a little too early. Some years they get it in and it's fine, and sometimes like this year, every track is pushed back their opening date weeks and weeks. Like our local track now is their opening date is May 7th, and their play day was scheduled for April 16th last Saturday, or maybe something like that. So it's just been a disaster. So look at the track, and honestly, I was like, man, it really doesn't look that bad. It was a little rough. You could tell it was just... Is there a crash? Did something happen?
Rick Ware Racing, Cody Ware just wadded it up.
Oh, okay.
So we're keeping the streak alive here.
We're keeping an eye. Anyway, so racetrack looked,
It looked normal, because we've been to tracks before where you're there and you're like, oh, it looks wet. Back in PA, but by qualifying, it's slick.
Yeah.
And then we've also been to tracks where like, this looks dry. We need to get some water on it. So it looked kind of like, there's some wet patches here.
Yeah.
There's probably some dry patches where there's moisture underneath. But I probably would lose on any bet on what happened in Mudpack and Hot Laps.
Yeah. So we go out there. So people are pulling in. All of a sudden, I notice, I'm like, dude, this is going to be a huge opening night. The grandstands are packed. Like, there's a ton of fans. The pit meeting was scheduled for 3:30, and we didn't even have it till almost 4:30, I think, because people were still getting in. They kind of opened everything late. The pits were completely full, and part of the pit area you couldn't even use because it was underwater, which that didn't help. 23 sprint cars, like we said earlier. So full field. I'm looking around. I'm like, all right, there's a handful of really fast Pacific Northwest guys that could really win tonight. So have the pit meeting, go out from Mudpack. And we roll out from Mudpack. Oh, one thing to mention just for me personally, I had no power steering because I was low on fluid.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I didn't know if I told you that. So I had no power steering because we had to put a new wing ram on.
Yeah.
And how that connects in with the power steering. And so that filled up with fluid, so I had no fluid in my box. And so we had to fill it back up. So I'm rolling around under yellow, and it's like I almost pulled off quick because I'm like, if there is a bigger issue than just filling it up with fluid, I mean, I'm either going to be exhausted tonight or this is going to be...
How hard is it to turn on
horrible.
this car?
It's horrible. Like, it was like you hit... Especially with how that place was, because it was a little rough. So every time you hit the bumps, like the steering, instead of like being smooth, it just jerks everywhere. Horrible. Absolutely atrocious. So had no power steering, which also means my wing couldn't move. I couldn't really move my wing because there wasn't enough fluid. So it was like very difficult. But it really wasn't much of mud pack. It was more of like dust pack because the surface was hard, but everything underneath it was grippy.
Well, so what I kind of was thinking is, and I thought this was going to be perfect. So back when I noticed when the All-Stars go out in some tracks like Ozark Speedway, you didn't mud pack. You fired off, you took turns 1 and 2, and you were off the backstretch. Like, that's all you got, you know what I mean? And I thought that's what we were going to do. I mean, the track was dry. It started to seem like there's maybe a little bit of dust on the stretches behind the tires. So I was like, okay, well, let's get them off, and we'll probably have a pretty decent slick track tonight, and it's going to be good. But next thing you know, the mods come out and the hobby stocks and the Hornets and
they had
the whole 9 yards.
They had to mud pack the dust pack. Let's call it dust pack. It was dust pack. every class. And
I timed it. I was in the infield 2 hours.
That's crazy.
From mud pack to the end of qualifying, 2 hours.
Which I do actually, I want to say one props to Grays Harbor. They did not question. I asked if Bennett could go in the infield.
Yeah.
And how did it even, because like we had talked and you had given me a pretty good answer. It was like, yeah, just, talk to the safety crew. And there was really no problem getting Bennett in the infield.
No, it was awesome. The one thing that made me not upset, but just on our own thing is I want to go there when we have a really good track. Because I feel like the shots would be so good when you're really hooked up flying there. Because a lot of people were either down low, really dusty, or choppy through the middle. So I want to get back there when it's smooth.
The corner Bennett was in too was the slicker of the two. Like 1 and 2, even though it was a little abnormal, like it's still like you were on the gas through the corner.
1 and 2 is shaded. I think that's
too.
a good thing to mention. It's shaded, so a lot of moisture retained in the dirt there, where 3 and 4 is out baking.
Very, very true. So we got Bennett in the infield, went out, they packed every class, and so the schedule, we're already getting behind. I'm like, oh boy, it's going to be a late night. Like we have too many classes, too many cars. Mm-hmm. There's so many fans. There's no way it's about to get really cold in about 3 hours.
We had a ton of fans, huge turnout.
Insane turnout. And I'm like, I just knew right away that like I said, I like Grace Harbor. It's like I just knew there's no way it's going to turn out there's just no way. There's too many people, too many cars. So go out for hot laps. Carly was in the first group. I was in the second group. And like I said, 1 and 2, you could drive really hard. And I knew with our setup, we kind of have been hitting on something as of lately that I feel really good about. And I knew it was going to run good at Grace Harbor. And the corner that held all the moisture, I was like, man, I am flying. Feels so great. 3 and 4, where it was really slick and really crumbly, I didn't feel as good, but I felt like everyone had to have kind of felt that way because you can only make your car so perfect for both ends, Right. If you're really good on one end, you're going to miss something in the other, regardless of how you set up your race car. And so we were trying to be better in 1 and 2 because you got to get your car to rotate. Otherwise, you're just not going to make it through the corner. So we got there, hot lap, come back in, then go back out for single car qualifying. And racetrack was pretty similar, I guess you could say. The only thing I felt like that was really important is in 3 and 4, there was one moisture patch on the bottom that you had to drive through, and if you could hit it right on entry, you could carry enough speed, and then you just try not to get in the dust. That's what I was going to say.
It was weird. It was like moisture on entry, because I walked out onto the track a little bit in between cars, and it was really dusty on exit.
Yeah.
So I feel like some people, so Carly, just to point out a mistake she made, is she got really low and sideways.
Yeah, she got way too low.
And just floored it. I mean, max RPM just spinning the tires. But when you went through, Thompson went through, like you guys did a good job of not buzzing the tires off. Yep. And it was actually a lot faster.
Oh, yeah, no, and that's a lot of that place. It's weird. And like one thing I even look back on a normal night, it would be more crucial. The whole straightaway was pretty slick on the front stretch. But one thing, like at Grace Harbor, when you come off of 4, if you almost want to run the whole bottom of the lower you can get on the straightaway, the more grip you're in, because you will just annihilate the tires and you lose tenths. Literally, you watch tenths go on as guys go and they get too high. So that's really key. So that was kind of what qualifying looked like. And, every class was going out there. And so the track's slick. And we're like, all right, man, we are going to kill tires tonight. Yeah. We're in a tire shortage technically, and we're going to just murder tires. Well, that was the complete opposite. They went out there, they watered it, and as the night went on and more classes went out and they got a little bit farther down, it just got softer and softer.
It's like it was a complete opposite night. The moisture just came back all the way till the end.
Especially when it got cold. I mean, I don't know what the temperatures had to have been like.
I think it was like 35 to 40.
Yeah, 30. I mean, it's freezing cold. There's moisture in the air. We're not far from the coast. And so, yeah, it's just super wet. And basically, that's kind of what that looked like. And as, the little cars went out there, the Hornets, one of our favorite divisions, they're just tearing the track back up. They're bringing the grip back. And so heat races, and it also made it rougher. Heat races were pretty fast. I mean, every car that got out front was, and into past cars, you had to drive faster through the holes than someone else.
Yeah.
And we started third in our heat race. I think you had to run in the top 4 to retain your time since we qualified 4th. And I just ended up running 3rd, but there was a couple of close moments around some other guys where it got gnarly.
It did get close. And one thing too is, I think it was Stark shot out of a cannon on the second restart and pulled a slide job, and it stuck through the bottom. It was weird. It was like in 1 and 2, if you hit the bottom and you can drive straight through the bumps and you don't get upset, you're gone. But when you do get upset,
that's when you lose so much time. Yeah. Right. So it's a happy medium. How risky do you want to get?
Yep.
But if you hit it right, there was some spots where you could roll through and it wasn't too hard on your car. And yeah, he's he was really good at that. I seen that and I was like, man, that's gonna be, if you want to win tonight, you're gonna have to do that.
So I think that's a good point to start mentioning where stuff kind of starts going downhill for the Holmes racing team.
Oh yeah.
It's where Carly experienced the first issue that proceeds to happen on your car.
Yes.
So Carly's running pretty decent, just getting laps, not doing bad.
In the back of the heat.
And then next thing you know, she's just up in the wall. And I didn't see what happened because I was filming or watching you. And then they push her off, and I noticed the right front shock was gone. I was like, well, she must have got in pretty good. And then, after the heat's all said and done, we went back to the trailer to see what happened. So you can explain it better because it's sprint cars better, but it's a titanium stud for the steering arm.
Yeah. So so you have like a big steering rod on your front axle, and it connects
to your hub.
Yeah, and it connects on the left and right side where just the spindle and the whole front assembly goes. And you have a stud on both the left and the right. Basically, that stud snapped, and then when it snapped, it just disconnects the steering rod on that side. Yeah. So on hers was the right front. So it's still connected on the left side, so you still have like half your steering, but you don't have steering. But you at least, it's enough to where your car's not just going dead straight and you're going right for the wall. Like, so I don't think Carly hit the wall.
No.
But she was able to save it.
Yeah, I don't think she may have tagged it barely.
Gotcha. Yeah. So that broke, and we've never had that problem before, and that's something I check like every week is like, are those tight? Are they on there properly? Like whatever. So I don't know if it just snapped because
so this is what crew chief Brian Crockett said. When we were in the pits, he was telling John, he said, are these on all the cars? And he said, yeah, we got them on both front ends. He's like, never run these again.
Yeah.
And the thing that he described is, so let me point a little picture. There's threads on both ends of the stud, but the center part is non-threaded, so it seats into the spindle, right? Well, where the threads shelf off of the where it's not threaded, that creates a weak point, and so that's what Brian was explaining.
Gotcha.
He says he runs bolts through them, and that's what you should do.
Yeah, and a lot of the reason people run kind of like the assembly that we have is because it makes it easy to change. When things happen, it makes it quick, hot pit, whatever. And, maybe, I don't even know exactly, I have to check what brand it was not Smith Titanium.
Yeah.
Smith Titanium, for anyone, is like, that's the nicest of the nicest, which it's very strong. So what we had was not as nice as that. Maybe it wouldn't have broke. I don't know. I'm not, But, so basically it snapped. And when it happened to Carly, I feel like it was a little bit more of a freak thing. We're like, oh, maybe it was just,
Yeah, no, it was just like she was like, I'm driving, and then it just was gone.
Yeah, just like we never really had that problem before.
She never got contact or nothing.
And you do got to remember, we've ran some rough tracks, but when you're at a place like Grace Harbor, it's much faster. So like when you run a rough place like that, that's when it's really hard on your equipment. And that's when you're really, going to have issues. And like I said, we've ran some fast places before, that were smoother, but still, and we've never really had a problem with, these titanium studs we have on our front ends. So happens to Carly, not much damage. We just get it changed. Carly's, good to go for the A main event. She's going to start in the back. And then they pulled I think they had there was like a 0 or 1. It was like straight up for the A. So I got for the A main event. And this is when the whole disaster starts for the 360s. And then we'll get into some of the other classes and some of their chaos. So 360 A main event. Nothing's changing. The track's just getting faster and rougher, or there's more grip. And you can run you can run all over. If you can run right through the holes, you can run almost close to the wall because even though it shelves off, it's smooth. It was smooth up there. So first lap of the A main event, I start fourth. It's Tyler Thompson, Logan Foiler on the front row, and Reese Getz next to me. And I'm like, all right, I'm hoping these guys go in and go to the bottom because I'm just going to try to stay up in the smooth spot and see what happens. Like, let's just get through this first corner. Mm-hmm. This race, regardless if it did go green, was going to be won in lap traffic because there's going to be guys off the pace and you were going to have to get through all the lap cars. Mm-hmm. So there's no reason to do anything crazy first lap. So I'm thinking, you know what? Maybe everyone's got the same game plan as me. Let's just get through the first lap. That's not what happened.
No, that's not what happened.
And it wasn't necessarily because of anybody's move. So the pole sitter, Tyler Thompson, I believe his kingpin backed out on the left front.
Yeah.
And so he's going down the back stretch, and second place is right behind him, and third, we're all right there.
So to mention, too, you started fourth, right?
Yeah.
And just to paint a little picture here, Tanner enters the corner about fourth, fifth, based on people just running the bottom.
Yeah.
But coming off of 2, it was like night and day. You were shot
Huge
out of
rocket.
a cannon. You're the place Tanner was at, he would have been next to Thompson out or going into 3.
Possibly,
if he did not wreck. Yes. I think you would have been there.
I would have been very close. Yeah, right there with Foiler and Thompson. And Thompson's spindle backs out. So all of a sudden, like I said, everyone's next to each other. He's sideways on the backstretch.
It
just completely lose steering. Yeah. Gets smoked by, I think, Getz. Foiler missed it, but he ran something over maybe with his right rear.
Foiler got the right rear KO'd.
Something. They all hit, and somehow, I mean, by inches, maybe almost less than that, I missed this wreck. It was crazy. And another car smokes, so I think it wrecked 4 or 5 cars on the backstretch.
And not only that, but I guess you could say 4 or 5 of the fastest cars that were there.
Yeah, all up front runners.
So, that leads us to the restart where I'm like, well, Tanner found his line. I hope he knows how fast that was, because we saw how fast it was. We're like, I think we have a good shot at this.
For sure.
I think we look good.
So the car that started 5th is now on the pole, and then I started front row outside, which I disagree with how that. I don't know their exact ruling, but usually in sprint cars, if 2 or more guys from a row back or out of the race on an initial start, you crisscross. So then I would be on the pole,
right? And
the next car in line would be on my outside. But whatever, I wasn't too worried about it because I'm like, we're on the front row.
And this is only half of the first lap, so you got the whole race.
And I kind of wanted to run on the outside anyway, so I wasn't gonna make a big issue about it because like I didn't want to have to be the guy that has to drive right through the bumps the first lap. Right. So next restart, I ran a little bit lower than I did because the car on my inside got the jump and kind of pulled up in front of me. And I was, you got to be a little careful at Elma because you are going fast enough where you can get dirty air.
Yeah.
And it will really screw you up. So he enters and he got like all out of sorts and he hit the holes wrong. And then all of a sudden I was like trying to go down. Then all of a sudden Trey Starks came from like 4th and he's almost leading the race.
Right.
And then I get together with 2nd. Like it was so crazy. You have to just see the video how this happens. Within a couple seconds we have another wreck.
Yeah.
Which
what
felt like it was
weird,
a racing deal.
What was weird is when he went through the bumps and slowed down, I thought, okay, he's just going to correct it and we're going to keep going green. Well, he just never refired. He just coasted down the center of the track and then gets killed by another car.
Yeah.
And so that's wrecked 2 more cars at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think, too, when I hit his left front, it sheared off his left front, I'm pretty sure.
With your right rear.
I think so.
I thought for sure, because we hadn't completed a lap, and I know the game plan was if anything happens, just pull the trailer and we'll call it a night. But I was like, if we haven't completed a lap, he's already that fast. I was going to get ready to go get a right rear.
Yeah,
I thought we were cutting down a right rear.
I figured we were too. And like I said, it was a totally just how it happened. Like he got out of sorts and went high, and then all of a sudden he was coming back low, and I'm trying to get low, and we're just trying to get through the first corner.
Right.
So then we are under yellow a long period as they're trying to figure things out.
And just mind you, we haven't turned a full lap in this race.
No, and we've already went. My GoPro, I think at this point we've probably been on track almost 20 minutes plus, at least. Yeah. At least 20, 25 minutes. Because when they wrecked on that first lap, we had a 10-minute red probably, or something like that. So we're out there. Then we have another restart, and now it's Trey Starks and me on the front row. And we're like, all right, you know what? I knew at that moment with how many fast guys had wrecked out and who was behind me, I'm like, I can run second in this race, but I have a legit shot to win. If things go not my way, I might run second because Starks is really fast. Like, you know what? I think I might have the speed to challenge him, and maybe even if I'm not as good as him, we'll get to traffic. We'll see what happens. But I was fully confident that I had a shot to do something. So I get a really good restart. Or initial start, I guess, technically, because we're still on that. And I'm side by side with him going into turn 1. I run my high line that I was going to see, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll be able to pull up. We're going to race down the backstretch. The center of turns 1 and 2, all of a sudden I'm turning left, and my car's going right, and I'm still turning left, and my car's still going right. And I hit the wall, and that was it. I knew my steering broke right away. And it was the exact same thing that broke on Carly's, that stud, but it was on the left side. So I don't know if technically it would have been better if it would have broke on the right side. I don't know. But I just go in the corner. And luckily I was able to start slowing down because I had enough time, but I still hit the wall pretty good. The race just went downhill like that.
Yeah, I know once that happened, I was like, well, we haven't turned a lap in this race, and I'm pretty sure we're about to do a fuel stop. So I went and got fuel. Carly got refueled. Props to Carly, last to 7th.
Yeah.
So, hard charger for the night, pretty much survived there. Not too bad, but it's so odd when stuff like that happens.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense.
The same thing, and the part that gets me is I don't think you really went through anything that rough on those first couple restarts to even break it.
No, I don't know.
Maybe maybe in a heat race or something, it started to get weak and fracture, and then you just finished it off. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, I know a couple people commented. Actually, I need to go comment back, but like some people were saying, well, I hit that infield tractor tire on the left front. Well, no, yeah, I did earlier in the season and stuff. So like people were asking if maybe it was weekend. I don't know. It obviously wasn't a brand new piece of equipment, but like you said, I just didn't. The track was rough, but we've ran rough stuff before.
I was
so
gonna say
I
don't think it was as rough as we've been to for the laps you ran.
Yeah, exactly. And so the whole thing was just frustrating. And looking back now, it kind of makes sense because. Not that my steering felt weird, but on a couple of those starts when I would gas it up, like it was a little hard to turn than normal. Like it did a couple of weird things, but it's hard in your mind to think that it's because something's broke, because when the track's that way, sometimes the rough track can play with your mind too. Everything's bouncing around. You're constantly rolling around and things are, happening. But, so yeah, I mean, broke the left front stud. I lost steering, and, Bennett had ran over and he was like, what broke and stuff. And I was just like, I lost steering. I just lost steering, and that was basically it. And that ended our night really early. They ended up cutting the race to 15 laps. So we started at 11:30 at night, or roughly the A, and I think it got done after midnight. It was like a 45-minute plus race.
It was long.
It was a long time.
It was a long race. But,
and all the fans were gone by that. Like, it was cold. Like, it was just a recipe for disaster.
But so some of the other divisions did not go as smoothly either.
No, not at all.
So I think you can lead into the limited division. Started with 12 cars.
Started with like 12 cars, and
you watched the majority of the race. I got there for the ending.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, every class had some yellows and whatnot, but I'm like, all right, I want to watch the limiteds because they were going before us, and obviously that gives us a chance to just see what some of the faster guys in that class are going to do, so we know what to do, even though we kind of already knew what to do. And so they get out front, and the racing's pretty good. Every car's going, and there's some rookies, there's some veterans, I guess you could say. And the guy that got way out front blew up. Oh, wait, no, that actually didn't happen first. There was a car that was coming from like sixth that was really fast, and he got up to second. And he was like, I think the first guy out. So he had a problem, so he dropped. So I'm like, well, dang, this is going to be boring, because there's like two really fast cars, and one of them just blew up. So the guy that's leading is probably going to run away with it. Well, a couple more laps into the race, the guy leading blows up, I think, or, had a mechanical failure of some sort. So now all of a sudden, we got like a pretty good field of cars that were running like second through fifth. And all of a sudden, they start dropping like flies. Like, there was a crash. One of the cars that was leading lost both front shocks, and the front end was dancing around, and they were about to crash for a couple laps. And a couple guys in the back were having issues. Like, another guy, I'm dead serious. I'm not lying when I said like 5 cars blew up throughout the main event. Yeah. And then a couple other guys had other mechanical failures. It was bad. And you can hear it, because like where we're standing in turn 3 and 4, cars come by, and I'm like, someone's motor's not running right. Something's about to go, and all of a sudden, puff of smoke, and someone's in the infield.
So when I walked up there, I think this was one of the funniest
This was
things.
the best moment.
Tanner was like, look at this car, and it had no right side headers.
The header fell off. The header fell off in the middle of the race. They ran 3 laps before they got to throw the yellow, because no one saw it. And then the guy still was running without a header.
Yeah.
It was shooting flames out the side.
If he stayed on the track, he could have won that race.
He would have at least ran second.
Oh, yeah, he would have.
Because they kicked him off. And also, mind you, that half the race he's also been running with the nose wing. It broke off the front mounts, and it was up on the hood.
Yeah.
So, you guys needed to see. This was the most entertaining limited race I've ever seen, because it was like, who's going to win? Everybody's braking. Everybody's blowing up.
Well, so they restarted finally, and then first and second are starting to race hard. Like, we're side by side. I was like, this is going to be a sick race. And then the leader blows up that was leading, and then second place that was fast, he blows up too, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. All of a sudden, this kid, one of my friends and actually longtime fan, Destry Miller, it was his first limited race ever, and he won.
Yeah. So the way the race ended is there was one car that was like 4 laps down.
Yeah.
Finished second, and the winner was his first ever race, and that's it. 2 cars.
2 cars. They started with like 12. Half of them blew up. Couple mechanical failures. One car lost the front shocks. We also didn't talk about one of them did lose steering as well, and almost hit where we were standing in turns 3 and 4. So that happened. The limited race was the craziest race I've ever watched. It took a long time. And the sad part is they actually, 12 cars or however many they had was a good turnout for them.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, like if they run again next week, they probably won't have many.
That's what Crockett said. He said with all the motors blown up there, we're probably gonna not have.
You're not gonna have cars anymore. Like that sucks. So yeah, like we're not saying that's a horrible thing. It was more just how ironic it all happened of the turn of events to where
like whoever took the lead was next.
However, if you've ever watched a race where only 2 cars finish and it was still kind of like interesting, and one of them was 4 laps down or something crazy, and then the kid, like you said, that one was his first ever race. The other division, Bennett and I had a lot of fun watching the Hornets, or they call them Outlaw Tuners there.
Yeah. Well, so the Hornet race was the main event was it was like the same thing, just crap kept breaking. And it's about 1:30 a.m. at this
it's
point.
Late.
And then the ending was pretty good. There was the 2 cars that were fast were side by side. One of the Hornets hit one of the Uke tires in the middle.
Really?
So there's no tire on the bottom of 3 and 4. So the second place guy ran all 4 in the grass about trying to pass the leader. So I don't know how legal it was, but they were side by side coming to the line. So at least I think there was some fans that were left and they were just going nuts over the Hornet race.
That's sick.
I think that's still cool to see the couple fans that were left still, freaking out.
Yeah, and we had fun overall for the weekend. I had a blast watching some of those other classes. I had a blast behind the wheel as well. It just sucked that, I really only ran, qualifying was good. We only had 1 time lapped in qualifying and 1 warm-up lap. So that's 2 laps there. We ran like an 8-lap heat race, and I got to run technically like 3 laps of the feature, but it only actually counted as 1 real lap that counted as far as scoring went.
Technically, you never completed.
Yeah, I didn't even complete a lap actually. Yeah, that's right. So
a couple laps.
It just crazy. So, but a good weekend overall. We're gonna get it fixed up. It sucks, but it's just it's just what you sign up for. So we're if anybody is wondering, yes, all of those studs we had are going to be changed, and we're going to find a different solution. It's either something stronger, because obviously you can't have that happening. When losing steering is the worst thing in sprint car racing, obviously anything else could be better. Not better, but it's just a bad deal. And also those we have those studs in a couple locations for certain spots for like on the drag link and stuff. So it's just got to get fixed, because 3 crucial points in the car where things can go wrong, and that's where it can get really expensive, when you take a hit like that.
Yeah. So at least on the bright side, Carly did good. She got some good laps under her belt, and I think when's her next race schedule?
So if everything goes to plan, it's this next weekend, but the weather doesn't look great at Cottage Grove, so I don't know yet. But if in the next couple weeks, we're going to try to make it happen. Hopefully this next weekend, because I want to get to Grove. Yeah. I feel like for us, we could also go run a Chico 410 with just myself. I know they got a 2-night show this weekend, which I'd like to support that, but it's tough. Cottage Grove's a little bit closer. I think it's going to actually pay pretty good, and I know that's a place we can legit go and win. If things go our way,
Carly runs good there too.
And Carly runs good there too, so it's a win-win, and it's fun to run in front of your, a little bit more home crowd. Yeah. So it's a tough decision. Yeah. And like I said, it's more to the fact that that's a race we can legit go there, just like Grace Harbor, and we can compete for a win. And if things go our way, we could dominate. Or there's also going to be a lot of good cars there, so it's still good competition. But
if you come down to Chico this weekend, I'll have to know when you make the decision. I'm sure you'll post it, but
yeah. No,
Chico would be good too.
Chico's a fun track as well, so we'll figure it out. But yeah, that kind of is going to wrap up the podcast. What's the NASCAR race looking like?
We're under commercial here, but they just finished stage 2.
Gotcha.
And William Byron won, and I think Kyle Busch is coming back, so I think he's back in the top 5, top 10. So
gotcha.
I think we're looking good to have either Kyle win. I think that's what we're looking for.
That would be sick. But anyway, yeah, it was a great weekend. We are going to continue racing each weekend as long as the weather stays good, and have a lot more fun content coming your guys' way, I guess. But it's about time to wrap up the podcast. Our chicken pot pies we have in the oven are going to be
starving. I haven't ate today. I felt like we just woke up. I'm hungry.
Dude, it's like 3:00 in the afternoon, and what a mess. Just, from getting home to unloading stuff to getting now, like, after this, we're going to go eat. I'm going to start washing and just start our process for the week. But Bennett, thank you so much for coming. Yep. It was a lot of fun. We're going to be doing a lot more fun stuff this summer for you guys here on the podcast, on the channels, on social, and just keep bringing content your guys' way. So thank you guys so much for watching or listening to episode number 40 of Off the Track, and we'll see you guys next Wednesday.
See ya.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are watching Off the Track, and it is time to drop the hammer.